You're not Dave.
No.
What do we got
So
going on here? Who's here?
the team formerly known as Wyrat. See, Wyrat's been down. He got shot the other, a few weeks ago, and he's been down for a while. And I'm Mega Loser Man. I have the strange ability to, no matter what ESPN projects my score to be, I'm able to make all the players play really bad. Isn't that a
Really?
great talent?
It's like a superpower.
It is a superpower. You know, Loser Man's not enough. That the M right here stands for
Yep.
Mega.
Okay.
So turning over a new leaf.
So so
I'm gonna run with it. I'm gonna play to
well,
my
and the
strengths.
and you're kind of disappearing here on us, but like the M also makes me, and the color makes me kind of think that you're trying to make losing great again.
I that well, new country. You know, maybe the more I lose, the better the country will be.
What that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Hey, I'm just trying to do my part. Well, you know what? It's really hard to talk in this, so I am
Yep.
going to disappear. What do you know?
Oh, hey, is it?
Yeah.
Wait, you still got a loser hat on.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Oh,
I guess you're right. So, yes, yeah, Mega Loser Man. If I can win, then he'll go away. But I
oh,
don't know.
Dave.
It's gonna be a tough week. I got
So much to talk about. Too bad we have to do this really fast.
okay. Where are you going?
I'm flying to Florida tomorrow to buy a car.
Oh, Crimea River.
I'm no, I'm driving to, I'm flying to Tampa, going to Katie's aunt and uncle's house, buying a car from them, and then driving it home all
Ooh.
tomorrow.
One-way ticket. I want you to
One way,
stay.
one way ticket.
Just
Yeah,
stay for a while.
yeah. Hey, Katie, you'll see me in a couple months.
Yeah.
What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. You get robbed on the way back. That
Yeah,
could that
yeah,
would
that
be
could be
bad.
bad. I was thinking, I was like, man, couple, I don't want to spoil this whole thing, but I've been doing some self-reflecting, Dave, just about everything. And so like two things come to mind. I was like, I called Junior a bye week. That's never a good play because then
No.
you just set yourself up for like, that's a trap game. Like, and so Junior lived up to his end of the bargain. He definitely
Yeah.
was a bye week. But I just didn't show up.
Yeah.
And then so that's part of it. I was like, ugh. And then last week, I had been feeling a little bit under the weather, and I was like, you know what? I I was drinking a can of water last week, and I was like, so then I was like, well, maybe God's punishing me for drinking water on the podcast when like he know. I mean,
Yeah. I
so,
mean,
so
you got to be you.
yeah, so I wasn't being authentic. So we're back to the beer, and
Okay. Fair enough. Well, we want to jump into awards.
oh, you have an award to give out? I mean,
Yeah.
who would you give an award to?
So
The
it
Miller Time Team
yeah.
of the Week.
So you know what? Last week I you know,
You probably jumped the gun last week. You could have waited till this week.
I could have, but did the right thing. True to, the integrity of the league and Flex got it, but you know, not this week. Even though very deserving, but I can't, it's like one of those every week kind of things. And there's a couple other people that scored high and were
Oh, hold on.
deserving, but
So scoring 98 points
I
in Thursday night football for the first three players going, that's not enough to get you the Miller Time Team of the
yeah,
Week?
because that win meant nothing to him.
Okay.
So that's what I'm going with this week.
Okay.
The importance of the win,
The magnitude of the win.
magnitude of the win. And so
Okay.
we've already sort of mentioned it, but
Yep.
and this makes no sense statistically. It makes no sense based on who it is, because this person is the butt of most jokes on this podcast.
Yep.
But and it has nothing to do with performance. So
Yeah.
sometimes Miller Time Awards are results more than
Yes.
performance. And so for that reason alone, you know, you eke out a 65.5 to 63.5 win to propel you up to 5-5, seventh place, at the risk of, if you would have lost, Junior, which you probably should have. Yeah, by all accounts, he should have lost.
Yeah.
He didn't. Gets the win. Big win for him. Keeps him up in the middle. Keeps him above a lot of people. And it didn't look good. Kind of looked like you were going to get enough points. You should have.
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
made no sense that Junior got the win here. But I mean, big win for Junior. Results, that if you just looked at who won and who lost and didn't look at any scores, they all count the same.
They do.
Sort of.
Yeah.
They don't because of points, but they do. So good job, Junior. You are
Congratulations, Junior.
Probably the most positive thing I've ever said on here about Junior. It's not going to last.
No. All right. So that leads us to the Hillbilly Harrison Hillbilly of the week.
Okay.
So just give me a quick.
Oh no. I don't have mine anymore because my cat ate it.
Dave, who do you think I'm giving the award to? Just go out. I
was deserving. I'm very deserving. I only scored 60. I could have beat somebody that had 76, but I'm thinking that maybe you're giving it to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you couldn't beat Junior.
No.
You couldn't beat off while doing a devotion. Maybe that says something about your character that you weren't able to do that.
It says so much.
Because most of the rest of us could. I mean,
this guy. Dave, this guy.
Look at that guy. You can see all the way up into his non-brain through those nostrils.
This guy got the win. He's Miller Time Team of the Week.
He is.
And I'm right behind Mega Loser Man as just loser. So that's a tough one. Congratulations. But yeah, goodness gracious. You were talking about ESPN projections. It's like, how can you get half the points that they projected?
Yeah.
And
exactly.
So,
I think I know.
yeah. But I in my 9 players, one of them technically can't get a touchdown. That's your kicker. He actually did fine. He got 13 points. He scored enough like he did get a touchdown. Mixon was the only touchdown that I scored throughout everybody else.
Yeah.
So Darnold didn't have a touchdown. Cheney didn't have a touchdown. Lamb didn't have but 24 yards. So yeah, it was tough. Dell, I don't know if you watched the game, that Houston game, but Dell seems to not be able to catch the ball when it's in the end zone. That's a thing that he has. So
yeah,
that was tough.
I think it bounced right off his face or something like that.
So.
Would that have made a difference in the score? Oh yes, it would have.
Dave, anything would have made a difference in the score. Like maybe
like my loss last week, where just a couple, how the ref, placed the ball would have made a difference,
Yeah.
Couple ball spots right there.
So, all right. Well, we got to keep
other
this
good
thing
matches
moving. Yeah.
You alluded to Flex getting 90 something, and he only ended up with 138 only.
Yeah.
Only 138, but
but
nobody could catch him. Ratty made a great run at it, but
what are you
came
gonna
up
do?
short.
So, big win for Josh. He just keeps scoring points, and now he's got the wins to go along with it. So, he catapulted himself up into
third place, 5-5.
Yeah, but he stands tall on that 5-5 list, where some of us, not so much.
Some of us,
Brian got a big win.
That was a close one too.
If
that was just sort of the casualty of how late you find out about things. He was hoping that Collins would be back. At that point, didn't have anybody to pick up except for, maybe there was somebody besides Beckham, but not a whole lot of options. to get 5 points, and he only got like 2 or something like that. So
Yeah.
you know,
What do you think about Ed, man? He just keeps cranking out wins.
yeah, he
Again,
and then,
we talk so much about points, but in a league that's based on wins and losses, dude, he's 7-3. I mean, his playoff spot's not going anywhere anytime soon. So
yeah, and
um,
yeah, it was, I mean, not fluky. Not a big surprise that he beat me, but he would have beat, say, 1, 2, 3 other teams besides me. So it wasn't like,
yeah, yeah,
there were a lot of low scores to go around. So,
yep.
but
And
he just,
and then the Jekyll and Hyde that is Andy's team.
my goodness. Yeah. I mean, 21 defensive points, you can't really predict that if you drop, but if you drop 10 off that, he still wins by a bunch. So, Brennan scored 91. That would have won a lot of matches this week. He's still 3-7. He ain't out of it. That's for sure.
No.
With 4 weeks left.
Yeah. So it's that it was a weird week. It started out weird with, obviously I think we were all in mourning after Thursday's loss to
that seems like forever ago.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just a tough week. And then, for some of us, the fantasy ball just didn't bounce the way that we wanted it to. So I know that, one of the things for me that's like make or break for me has been quarterback play. And you were kind of looking into some quarterback plays. So what do you got to tell us just about some trends you've seen about quarterbacks in the league?
This might be, I was telling you, before we started this, I kind of thought about having it all in some little display because it's a lot of stuff to hear and try to process. But I don't know. I always hear Junior say that he listens to it in the car, which means he's probably not looking at his phone anyway. Yeah. And I don't know how many other people don't really, they might glance but aren't watching and see if it's on there. So
we've got faces made for radio, so
I guess so. So yeah, I'll try to get through this. I was thinking in my head when I was putting it together, there'd be a visual to kind of, you'd be able to see it. But so what I did was kind of went through, we have there's a top 12 right now, the top 12's highest scoring fantasy quarterbacks. Now that obviously there's people that maybe have played a little bit and got hurt or have missed time but
bye weeks, all these different things.
You would want one of these 12 people most, if the season ended today, like if it was only 10 weeks 10 weeks long and you knew it was only 10 weeks long, you would have wanted one of these people because they were the top 12 when there's only 12 starters. So we have, in order, we have Lamar, Baker Mayfield, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Kyler Murray, Brock Purdy, Kirk Cousins, Bo Nix, Sam Darnold, and Geno Smith. Those are the top 12 right now. So then I looked at who our first top 12 people that were drafted, and there's a bit of a difference. We have Mahomes, Josh Allen, Stroud, Lamar, Burrow, Dak, Anthony Richardson, Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, Kyler Murray, and Kirk Cousins. So some overlaps. So what I was kind of thinking of, we're always thinking, okay, how do you get points? Points are big when you're thinking about a quarterback. I'm correct me if you think this is accurate, but I think there's 3 main ways outside of a fluky, the worst quarterback in the league plays the best defense and he still gets 40. You wouldn't put any money on that. So we got elite quarterbacks, so if you have a really, really good quarterback, it's not a big, and you're thinking, all right, say 30 is the goal, 30 points, you play them against anybody, reasonable expectation that they might get 30 points no matter who they're playing. So when I look at where we drafted, because nobody really drafted too early. I mean, 3rd round was the earliest. So I'd say for us, the draft, it was Mahomes was in the 3rd, Allen 4th, Hurts 4th, Stroud 4th, Lamar 5th, Burrow 5th. And so that's the top 6. So I'd say out of the 12, if you drafted your quarterback in the 5th round or before, then you're expecting them to be every week pretty good shot at getting kind of elite points. So that's one path. It's just to have a great quarterback. And then you got maybe a decent to even bad quarterback that is on a team that's always playing from behind. So they don't have, rarely do they get the luxury of working the clock, running the ball, trying to shorten the game.
They're not always sitting in the fourth quarter.
Yes, they're not, they're always catching up and all that. And that's a path to a lot of points. And I feel like that's where Baker falls in.
Yeah.
He had like 4 to 6 weeks in a row from like say 2 through 8 that were great, and like 4 of those were losses for his team. So that's a path. And then you got a decent to say bad even quarterback that's playing against a bad defense. And so
it's kind of like a spot play.
Yeah. So like one example would be the week that Cleveland beat Baltimore. Winston had like 300 some yards, 3 touchdowns, and Baltimore, hasn't not proved to be the greatest defense this year.
Yeah.
So those are
historically they are. They're not proven it.
Yeah, but this year they've been giving up a lot. So so those are kind of like 3 paths to like get a lot of points as quarterbacks. Now obviously it doesn't always work that way because there's a lot of variables. You got
Did you think about when you were doing that, like running quarterbacks versus like?
I mean, that would factor in. Like you could like say not so much this year, but you could have a one like a unicorn kind of thing where like last year Justin Fields had some big weeks where he just ran all the time, for 120 yards.
I don't think it's been as big a factor this year because I think that people thought Caleb Williams or Anthony Richardson would be mobile and running a lot, and really that hasn't. I mean, those guys just haven't played well. I mean,
So Baker wasn't drafted.
Yeah.
And neither was Bo Nix, neither was Sam Darnold, neither was Geno Smith, but everybody else that's on the current top 12 was drafted. 1, 2, 3, 4 of the top 5 were 4th round or above. So that's not, you picked them within the top 6 picks of quarterbacks taken, and they're, the top 5. That's pretty good. But then some of the other ones, and you like look at the most glaring probably is Adam picking Mahomes at 3rd, and maybe what went wrong there. You're like, their team's winning.
Yeah, they're undefeated, and you think that you missed on the quarterback just because he's not putting up like crazy numbers.
Yeah, he does have a 30-point week, but his worst week is 13.9.
Yeah,
which
I'd probably take that.
When I looked at the side of, this is a lot of, way too numbers to, I'm not going to read all these numbers, but if you were, for the top 12, everybody in the top 12 has had a 30-point week, some of them more than that. But like outside of Lamar, who's an anomaly, his worst week is 19.3. Everybody else has like the best worst week after that is Hurts with 11.9, which that kind of hurts you, when your quarterback gets 11 or less. 19 doesn't hurt you so much because, it's still right, especially this year. But almost everybody had like 7, 8, 9,
a
6,
single digit.
Yeah, like a bad week there. That's the top 12.
Yeah.
So you got your playing into the 3 paths that I had of getting good scores. The opposite of that is kind of what Mahomes has been dealing with. It. They've been winning. They've been just playing to win, so they haven't been, I don't know. I've like anecdotally, I think of games like or teams like Detroit and Buffalo that if they could be winning by 20 and they're still going to throw it down the field and try to get another touchdown.
Although Goff's not in the top 12, right?
He's not. He's not.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I don't know if this last week really set him back.
But 5 picks.
Maybe not. But Geno was coming off a bye week, so.
Yeah,
that's a whole missing week, and he's still top 12.
Well, I just don't remember a lot of people starting Goff. Like,
no, I didn't see. He's not on the list, so I didn't see. It was kind of the, of the top 12. some of these guys started to get started, but it took a while because we're loyal to who we pick,
Yeah.
especially if you pick people high.
Yeah.
You know, I so we have like a lot of nines and tens, because of a bye week. Burrow and Allen and Hurts and Kyler and Purdy, they're all 9 and 10, week started, like never taking them out. Um, Actually, I've started Jaden Daniels 7 times, but there was a lot of factors into that because of,
Yeah.
of having Love, who's, oddly not on that list. He's on the list of 12 that were drafted in the first 12. Um, but then you got guys like Kirk Cousins that's been played 3 times. Bo Nix has now been played twice, getting ready to most likely be a third. Sam Darnold has been started 3 times, and then Gino's been started 4. Um, that so like a lot of those points, and like Baker's been started 0 times. He's a second quarterback and been started 0 times because he just joined the team.
He's been on Rennie's bench, right?
Yeah, I mean, but that was only the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
Nobody had him before, and he had a
Yeah.
whole run of a ton of points,
Right.
and nobody picked him up because
I can't
for
believe I
whatever
didn't pick him
reason.
up. I picked them all up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, nobody played him,
Yeah.
and that, you think why? Well, if you've been thinking about, well, was he probably just thought you had somebody, somebody better. It's like you hate being, you're gonna, like, Junior finally sat Stroud like a week ago, and then it didn't really work out for him. Although was that this week? I think. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he won, but it wasn't because
Yeah.
it started took off. Like,
Yeah. Stroud is one that I feel like, I mean, I went into the draft at the tavern that I would have taken Stroud had he been available.
Yeah.
And he ended up getting picked before, like, before I was ready to take a quarterback. I was thinking I could wait another round. He ended up getting taken. And man, I couldn't be more wrong about him. I just feel like that there was so much hype coming about this Houston team and about where Stroud was going to be. And like, he's struggled for Junior for a long time.
Yeah. So
to be that 30-point score that you would think he would be.
I mean, Adam has started Mahomes 8 times, and you do that because he's Mahomes,
Yeah.
and he hasn't killed him, but he hasn't lived up to being the third round draft pick. He's not even on the list of top 12, so that he's a little below that. But that a lot of the top 12 have been started a bunch of times. Now, some of it, like Dak was up there. He's only been started 4. Richardson, for a lot of reasons, he hasn't always played. But we're, it's kind of tough because you're loyal to.
Well, and I think that sometimes, like with somebody like Baker, or even early on like Darnold, or you see what they do. I mean, look, if we go back to the very beginning of the season, the hottest quarterback at the beginning of the season for the first 2 weeks was Carr. Now they're terrible. You know what I mean? Like, he was putting up 40-point games, and you were just like, oh my goodness, Derek Carr is going to be amazing, and New Orleans is going to be amazing. And then all of a sudden they just like fell off. And so I think when you're watching somebody like Darnold early on, or you're watching somebody like Baker, I think you just keep thinking, oh, that was a fluke, right?
Yeah.
Or you look at the defense that they're playing next, and you're like, well, that's not a good matchup. And then they'll still put up 35, and you're like, oh man, I probably, or especially early on, you're like, oh, Baltimore's a good defense, right? You don't want to play this person against Baltimore, and then people torch Baltimore, and you're like, I don't know what's going on.
And that's where, in my scenarios thing, like, okay, I'm going to play any quarterback against a bad defense. But at the beginning of the season, you don't know who the bad defenses necessarily are.
Yeah.
Until hindsight.
Yeah. And so, like, I'm a person that has 2 of these guys, Darnold and Cousins, on my team. I finally dropped Caleb Williams. He was on there too. But I was like spot playing some of them. Like, oh, well, they're playing against New England. They're going to torch New England.
Yeah.
Nope. 9 points against, you know what I mean? And it's like, and then they'll play against somebody that you think, well, I wouldn't play them against them, and they'll drop 38 points. And so it's just like, none of it makes sense sometimes.
There's a path to, there's all, like we've talked about with free agent, there's always some quarterback that outscores anybody that anybody starts. So potentially you could switch quarterbacks up to now 10 different weeks, or 10 different quarterbacks every week, and and always get the guy that scores 25 or more. But that's so hard to, like
Yeah.
it's just not going to happen.
I mean, if you ask me right now, and I'm sure if you ask several guys, like I think most people would like to be in the situation that Travis is in, Rennie's in, and probably Andy's in,
Yeah,
where
and
you would be like,
even Hurts now, he's up
or
there.
Josh, yeah,
Yeah,
Ratty, where you're like, hey, no matter what, unless they're on bye, I'm gonna play Josh Allen. No
yeah,
matter, I'm playing Lamar Jack. Like they might have a 12 or 14 point game, but most likely they're not. They're gonna have a 25 or 28 point game. And if you just don't have to think about it, like that's a pretty
yeah.
good place
Really,
to be.
everybody below the top five has had a lot of spotty weeks,
Yeah,
and trying to pick and choose, when to play. Like, if I could have, I'd have a much different record probably if I could have picked the right weeks between Love because Love's had some great weeks, but he's had some
yeah,
horrible weeks,
right.
and Daniels has had a few good weeks, but he's had some weeks like this week that was more like a Mahomes, like,
Yeah,
you get a situation where you have a good team that wins some games. If they get a couple scores early, and if a couple of those are rushing touchdowns, you're
yeah,
screwed because they're
yep,
just gonna run. They're just gonna control the game. They have no reason to pass and try to like get a bunch of
yeah.
points, and the
Well,
game just goes so fast.
and doesn't it seem like that Detroit game? So many teams are kicking field goals or kicking long field goals. Like it seems like field goals are up.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well, I think it was my highest scoring spot was
yeah,
was the kicker. He got that game winner, and I was like, man, that puts me in a position where a good Kyron Williams game, and he didn't
yeah,
have it.
yeah,
I don't know what the deal is with Waddle. Like, he dropped the ball that he should have caught. Him and Tua just don't get along right now, I don't think.
yeah.
But yeah, so
Well,
I
I
mean,
mean, I thought Tua looked actually pretty good. Those two defenses, I couldn't tell if those defenses are really the Rams and the Dolphins, if their defenses are really that good or if just those teams are that bad because like they were losing yards, it felt like on almost every play, both
yeah.
teams. Rushing and then like quarterbacks dropping back, they were just getting destroyed.
But I
So
want, obviously every year is not the same. And if we just looked at this year in a vacuum and tried to draft next year based on it, we talked about this last week with running backs and,
yeah.
wide receivers, whether we think that might flip flop a little bit. But, just looking at this, I wonder if it might make people wait just a little bit
Well, I think
because,
if you don't get one of them guys early, then you're probably less worried about getting a guy. You're like, I can just find a guy, right?
yeah,
Yeah. So I
because those
definitely think
middle
that'll.
guys, you look at, obviously Stroud was drafted top, like Stroud and Mahomes were both drafted to be one of those plug in every week kind of things, and
Yeah.
they haven't performed up to that.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
that would be the thing about next year is like you might go into it like that. Oh, I want a top five guy, or I want, but it's hard to predict who they're going to be.
yeah.
So, I mean, you could assume that it's going to be Josh Allen or that it's going to be Joe Burrow or that it's going to be, but you'll be hard pressed to really know who that
But
guy's going to be.
but
And
say you
if they could stay healthy, there's some of these guys where you're like, man, I think Tua's got the potential with all those weapons to be a guy like that, but then
yeah.
Miami just finds a way to mess it up.
And even where you're at, if you would have drafted who you have now, like if you drafted Cousins and Darnold and had them all the time, you still would have had to pick the right weeks to play the right one.
Well,
And they're both top.
I did draft Cousins.
Okay, but you
So
drafted Caleb Williams instead of who's
yeah,
not
but I
on the list.
drafted, and I didn't draft a quarterback until really late. So I was one of the last guys to pick a quarterback.
Yeah, Cousins was ninth.
Yeah,
Was ninth round. Was Williams
yeah,
even later?
yeah,
Okay.
yep. So, so I picked Cousins first, and then picked Caleb later. And honestly, like this is where you were getting at. I would have probably been better off just to play Cousins all the time.
It seems because he's currently ninth best, so he's scored consistently higher than probably what you got.
There'd be some off weeks, but
But you had those anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I mean, and the only other people that you could have picked, before Cousins and not done it before the, say, 6th round was Daniels, Murray, and Purdy. Murray and Purdy were both 8th and 7th rounds. So
yeah,
to get one of the top 12 current guys. But
right.
man, if anybody would have picked Baker up really early and played him like you did, you picked Carr up when he was hot.
Yeah.
Baker got hot like a week later and stayed hot for like 5 weeks or 6. And the only reason he's probably struggling now is because he doesn't have, Evans and Godwin.
Yeah. Well, and that hurts guys too. I mean, I think that, Nico Collins being out, I think that hurts guys. And
I think it's a bit rough to call what Stroud's doing a sophomore slump when he lost. Their line was horrible, and he lost his top 2 wide receivers.
Yeah.
And he lost in the offseason people he had chemistry with that are gone, like that Noah Brown, I think, or and stuff like that are people that were good last year for him. So I just was curious about how we, who the current top 12 are in relation to who we picked.
And if you're listening to this, there's just some guys that probably, and I'd be one of them, that we were probably loyal to somebody too long, and we probably should have pulled the trigger and gone, a different direction. And then when you get into that place where you're like, where you're seesawing, like, oh, this guy, like,
it's brutal.
Yeah, that's tough. So, but all right, so let's jump in. We've got some matchups coming up for this week. Big, this is the last week before we get into the repeats.
Okay. Yeah.
So 12, 13, and 14. 12, 13, and 14 are all the repeats. Everybody's complaining about who the repeat schedule is.
Significantly different teams in some ways than what people were the first 3,
Yeah. But I mean, if everybody's mad, then you got to figure that it's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, it was, and nobody knew who the best 3 were going to be at the beginning to be mad that.
But anybody who has to play Travis twice, I mean, and I'm one of them, that's a guy that can have a gripe. So
yeah, that's tough luck right there.
Yeah. So,
but in our defense, before the season started, we were like, you were probably like, I get to play Travis twice because we were down on his team. But it did not work out that way. So Travis plays
Rennie.
Tough matchup for Rennie. That's
but
I don't know.
But that Lamar Jackson versus Joe Burrow, it honestly, Rennie has a team, if they're healthy, that in certain weeks could go. I gotta think, I could be wrong. There's gonna be a week where Travis struggles to get 100.
I would think, and I don't know if Pittsburgh tries to keep possession, limit how often they're on the field, the Ravens are, and run, whatever they can do to shorten the game. That would be a way to knock off 2 of his best players. Yeah. I don't know if they'll be able to pull that off.
Yeah. So, but this is definitely one of those situations where Rennie needs the win way more than Travis does.
Yeah.
To go 4-7, if Travis goes off and scores 130 again, that's going to be tough sledding for Rennie.
Well, and it's also tough that Burrow's best chance of having a big game is Chase, who's right there on Flex's team.
Sorry about that, Rennie.
Where's Yosivas? 3 TDs for Yosivas this week. That would be awesome.
Yeah, or Chase, or maybe Higgins or Brown. Yeah, Chase Brown. You know who I meant.
Is Higgins even going to play? Is
maybe, yeah. So then we got Ed, and Ed is going up against Show Me Your TDs. Again, this is a place where you got a 4-6 team that's desperate for a win.
Yeah.
And but man, Ed's got a full lineup. He's got a projection of 102, and like normal, Lee's got some work to do, which he has been doing. So yay to everybody for filling out your lineups.
Lee's had some big weeks when either the weeks that Aaron Rodgers had a big week, or he played Geno and Geno had a big week. But it's like he's living and dying by getting 25 or more quarterback points.
Yeah. So, but Mark Andrews is on the rise. I mean, that dude
Boy, were we
is,
wrong.
yeah, that dude's balling out. So, now we've got Battle of the Brother-in-Laws.
Yeah.
This could be the proverbial nail in Brennan's coffin if
Yes.
to go 3-8, and Josh would love nothing more than to get to 6-5. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
but especially with the amount of points he has, that put him in a really strong position with only 3 weeks left. So big battle there. And again, I'm laughing. Bo Nix versus Jalen Hurts. So which Bo's been doing good.
He has. He's on the list.
Yeah.
He's on the list of the top 12. So
But we're talking about Jalen Hurts.
And I think he falls into the combination maybe of he's a very good play against a bad defense, and Denver, I don't know.
Well, he's not afraid to. He'll rush for a first down.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know how many games Denver's been leading in. Where they've been able to just control the ball and run out the game. So I think there's a path to. That would really muck things up, man. If Sundance got to 4-7, 4-7, because in the back of all our, not that my playoff chances are not looking great, but even if I get there, I'm thinking the best I can get is 8th.
You think you're in this envelope?
It's very possible, yes.
Oh.
Could possibly be in my own, and
we'll find out.
But even if I make it, I'm like, you got to get to 7th.
Yeah.
Take your chances with Ed.
Yeah. Nobody wants Travis.
My goodness. Don't get to 8th.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So I don't even know who we got next. So let's go to the Battle of the Besties. We got Junior versus Adam. And this is an interesting case where Junior's at 5-5. I mean, again, Adam needs this win.
I mean, I don't know how many seasons. Probably there was a season, I don't know, within the last, I don't know how many years, where Adam really had a bad season.
Yeah.
He changed his team name to reflect how bad it was and all this stuff. Outside of that season, this late in the year, for him to lose 3 in a row, that's I wouldn't put a whole lot of money on that. And to have the 3rd loss in a row be to Junior, who,
Junior just struggles to score points. Now, some of us don't take advantage of that, but I feel like that Adam's going to take advantage of it.
I think so. But hey, that would. I mean, I don't really even know. I mean, I need everybody above me to lose somehow.
Yeah.
Even when they're playing each other.
Yeah. Now you're playing against some boat carrying mofos.
I know. I hate it. I hate every minute of it.
Because I don't know if you look over.
Because Josh Allen is one of those guys I was just telling you about that he could be up 40-0 and he still might chuck it down to Shakir for a bomb for no reason.
Yeah, you feel like that he might have a little Steph Curry in him, up 20, still shooting threes.
Oh yes,
yeah.
I mean that's all. So he doesn't, and his coach doesn't rein him in like that or anything. So I don't like that at all. And I think I don't know if have the Bengals been good at stopping the run?
Not so much, no.
So I don't like that at all. That Dobbins might have just free reign to just walk into the end zone 7 times. So no, I don't. And ESPN is even down on me this week.
Although the Bengals did stop Henry, they didn't stop anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I don't see, I don't see a big path to me. But then
and then that brings us to our last one, Dave.
That's all of them, isn't it? Yeah. There we go.
Me versus Heim time. So is this our only 5-5 versus 5-5 matchup?
Yes.
Yeah. So 2 guys sitting at 5-5.
Yeah.
both of us projected at 100 points exactly. And
Which, oddly enough, he has almost exactly 100 points more than you total.
yeah,
So
he's coming off of a win, and I'm
uh,
coming off of a loss,
and
a
both of them are
bad
by the
loss.
skins of your teeth.
Yep, and I had won 2 in a row before that. I don't know what Brian had done, but both of us, like I said, 5-5. Um, he's starting Jared Goff, which I don't think he's been starting him all season long. He's been starting Kyler quite a bit, I think.
I think they're on bye. That's why.
Yeah, yeah. But
Which I
both,
think that is probably a break for you because Kyler's
yeah,
been playing some good ball.
yeah. And Jacksonville actually plays a little bit of defense, even though their offense is terrible.
But I mean, a loss for you could drop you pretty far,
Yeah,
depending on
because
what
of the points
happens,
thing. Yeah,
and it wouldn't him nearly as much,
yeah.
because
So,
some of us wouldn't be able to pass him up no matter what.
oh, Brian, do me a favor here, Brian, and maybe just worry more about coaching your son's football team and less about fantasy this week.
Well, we know that's
Hmm.
all he does during work is work on his plans and
Yeah.
plays and coaching stuff.
Hmm.
That's a fact. I made that fact up myself.
Oh, goodness. So there it is.
Yeah.
So week 11 coming up, and then we've got week 12, and then we have Thanksgiving week. And I had shared a little bit about what did you think of? Did you read the instructions about
I
the?
meant to go back and look at that. It was a lot of words, and to be honest, I did not read it.
Okay,
So I was going to go back because I knew I had some weeks to figure it out.
yeah.
It
So
seemed
so
very
let me.
complicated. Is it
It's
not
not.
complicated?
No, it's super simple. Let me
Okay.
let me give you the pitch, okay? It's
Okay.
called. You ever played poker where there's like a game where you basically like you can split the pot high and low,
Yes.
high hand, low hand. So it's kind of similar to that, but it's not necessarily high low. It is all right. So the team with the highest scoring wide receiver, and I picked wide receiver because we all have 3 of them that are going, and so that gives everybody the most chances to start a great wide receiver.
Okay.
And there's a lot of who knows who could be the best. We've had
Yeah.
several weeks where the best wide receiver was on waivers, right? So it's like you just never know who's going to be the best wide receiver. So the in your starting lineup, it's got to be one of your 3 started wide receivers. So if we all 12 are in it, there's $120 in the pot, right? The team that has the highest scoring wide receiver for week 13, they get half the pot.
Okay.
Okay. Then the team that has the highest scoring kicker, because that's who knows? Like,
Yeah.
you don't even have to be a good fantasy team and you can get the highest scoring kicker. You could go pick somebody up off the waivers, and
Yeah.
most likely they're going to outscore your current kicker. And so it's the most random
Yeah.
of everything that we have. That person gets half the pot. But the beauty of it is that, if the stars aligned for you, Dave, you could have the highest scoring wide receiver
Okay.
and then have the highest scoring kicker, and then you would get the whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
it. It'll be easy to track because you just watch points and see who's got the highest scoring started wide
Well,
receiver.
I naturally put that in the write up every week. So the
Yeah,
winners are going to be right there,
yeah. But I mean, live scoring, you'll be able to kind of look and
Oh,
see
that's true.
who's, you know what I mean, like
Oh, but
who's doing the best.
I guess it's
It's
starting because I list the person whether they
yeah, yeah.
started or not. So
You
yeah.
they gotta be in your starting
Okay.
lineup, and so it's called, you know what I mean, it's a split the pot game, but you could, if you know if the odds are ever in your favor, you could come home with the whole thing. And that week 13 will kick off on Thanksgiving Day morning, right, or
Okay.
noon, whatever it is. And yeah, you just
But
have to
you're
you
either
have to
all in
let
or
me.
not. You can't do $5 to try to do the best wide receiver.
No, it's all
No.
one thing.
Okay.
And you have to let me know through a letter mailed to my house by that Wednesday if you're not going to participate.
Oh,
Otherwise,
if you're not going to
if
participate.
you're not going to participate, you have to send me a letter to my house and let me know your wish to not participate. Otherwise, Dave's going to hold the $10 out of your
Okay.
winnings. So
we could do it that way. Like, I control the money. Nobody can really,
yeah,
you just get $10 less than you would
or
have,
$10
or you
more.
get
Yeah.
$60, $50, $60,
Yeah,
or
so
$120 more.
we're kind of opting everybody into this Thanksgiving Day. I forget what I called it. Let me go
Well,
back.
there were a lot of, some people responded last week to my, to the talk about different league change things. A few people
Oh,
broke it down with check marks and poo signs.
yeah,
and
yeah.
And I think everybody, I guess I didn't look, anybody that said something, I think most people were okay with raising the entry fee. So,
Yeah.
this is sort of like mid-season raising the fee.
Mid-season raising the entry fee. Yeah.
So yeah, there was some interesting, maybe next week we can go back through, of course, like any poll we ever do or any discussion, only a few people really give their opinion, but there were some differences. Some people didn't want certain things and other people wanted other things. But yeah, that would be, we could, I don't know. It was, the whole point of what I talked about last week was it would be up for discussion. So I don't know what price point would be, depends on how much America is great again by this time next year. People have all kinds of extra money.
Yes, here we go. I was like, what is this thing? High stakes split is what it's called.
That's what you
there
call
we
it.
go. Yeah, high
Okay.
stakes split. So
Okay. So you might, just because we don't want backlash, well, I didn't even know this was happening, put it in the in the group chat and remind people that in a couple weeks,
if
we
got a couple
if you're
weeks.
going to opt out, it has to be a letter to your house before Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So.
Yep. No, that's fair.
Well, the beauty of it is some lucky schmuck like Ed's going to end up winning the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then you'll just be like, hey, here's your $120 and be like, for what? And be like,
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember that thing you didn't opt out of? Well, you won it. So, well, Dave, yeah, I don't know. So what's your follow-up to your survey or kind of our segment about
I don't know what the
changes?
next step is. I didn't really think that far ahead. But
it was interesting. So just off the top of my head, some things that got a little bit of traction was the raising the entry fee.
Yeah.
The kicker 6 points. That sounded more favorable than not favorable.
Yeah, I don't remember. I'd have to go back and
now
tally.
only a couple people voted, but it was
like 4.
Yeah. PPR got I think Adam was the only one that like maybe nixed it, you and Adam, and then like there was other people that were,
because we have brains and
yeah. I mean,
we're traditionalists.
Yeah. I mean, what really is the harm other than just every team scores more points?
I think it might change the way you draft a little bit, but then
I mean, can you tell me wide receivers that don't score a lot of points but get a lot of receptions, like in our league, like people who maybe would be more valuable in other leagues that aren't valuable in our league?
Yeah, I think it would make the rich get richer as far as the possession receivers that get like 8, 9, 10 their scores would jump up way a lot, and the guy that catches one bomb for 70, his numbers would go way down.
Yeah. Yeah, there are occasions where like a guy catches like one pass for 6 yards and then scores and ends up with like 6.6 points. But at the end of the day, like still like that tight end or wide receiver, they still only end up with like 6 points, which somebody who caught 6 passes for 60 yards will end up with the same amount. I think for all of us, it's like you need both. You need the guy that's going to get 80 yards and a score, right?
Yeah.
Like to really be, a game changer. But in some of the leagues where you got PPR, it's like if you got 10 catches for 40 yards and then a score, it's like
half is less bothersome, because the full point, because I'm in, like when you do daily fan, you're in that, and you're like, how in the world did that guy end up he had 50 yards, 5 catches, that's 10 points. 10 points is pretty good in our league, for a third wide receiver or something.
Yeah.
5 catches for 50
point,
yards
Dave,
should not be worth 10 points.
Is that like I think sometimes you're looking at it, or we might look at it and be like, well, no. But like it's the rising tide. Like what it's just going to inflate numbers across the board. So if everybody feels better because they're scoring 100 now when they were scoring 90 before, but if everybody's doing it, then like, what, oh, I scored 100 against Travis, but he scored 140. You know what I mean? Like, so. All right. Well,
we can revisit that.
I got to get on a plane, so wish me luck. And
what kind of car is it?
It is a 2015 Ford Fusion. Isn't that what you drive?
Mine's not a 15. I'll probably,
It's a years.
I don't even know.
So that's what it is. It was Katie's grandpa's. I'm flying to Tampa to pick it up from her aunt and uncle, and then I'm driving it back. I'm probably gonna stay in a hotel somewhere Thursday night and then finish the drive Friday morning. So we'll see or I might sleep in a Walmart parking lot.
There you go.
Or a strip club.
If I'm by myself, I would maybe at most probably just stop at a rest stop and rest for a little bit, but I doubt if I would just drive the whole way.
What if you wanted to watch Thursday night football?
Oh. Then you put the screen on your windshield and
just drive?
Yeah.
I mean, Thursday night football and Chris Collinsworth just keeps you awake?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or no, that's Sunday night football. Who's Thursday nights? Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit, right?
I get them all. I don't like Prime, those guys very much.
That's Al and Kirk, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I
like them now. Maybe I didn't. Who was it? Was it Hulu or something I didn't like? I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was last year.
Dave, they probably didn't like you either. So
no, I'm sure they didn't. All right, let's get off. You got somewhere to be, and
all right.
we've said enough.
Thanks, Dave. Good luck, everybody.
We'll see you.
You all have a good week.